It's a new day, and with cautious optimism, we rise once more to set forth on a new and different journey. I'm Jeff Oppenheim, filmmaker, content creator, digital journalist, and storyteller. And today, I head to Washington, D.C. No doubt all of our collective minds, hearts, hopes, and dare I say prayers hang in the balance these days, especially and symbolically this week as we commemorate the 2021 inauguration of Team Biden-Harris. In this episode, I'll look back on my own role producing one of the inaugural parties for Obama's first term and share with you my experience of meeting an anything but sleepy Joe Biden. Join me for tomorrow's journey. And while you do, please take the time to like and subscribe. It's kind of like voting. Washington, D.C. A city I always enjoyed visiting and working in, ironically regardless of who's in office at the time, but more as a place to remind me of the value of understanding history. We tend to watch history passively, and I guess that's because it's hard for us to process that we're actually part of it. And it can be from the simplest of tasks, like doing your job. I've experienced that in the type of work that I do, the people I get to meet and interview, and for that matter, my travels. Particularly when I travel to places that have a deeper and longer history than the United States, which is just about everywhere, really. The one thing that always hits me, though, is when I'm introduced, no matter what country, for some screening or for some event or lecture that I'm doing for a project. The moderator always latches on to at least one particular credit. This is a common denominator. Mesdames et messieurs, I also say he has produced one of the inaugural parties for Monsieur Obama and Monsieur Biden in 2008. C'est pas mal, no? Now, production is generally nose to the grindstone kind of work. You're up against time, budget, and you're moving a crew to a common goal. And DC was no different. We arrived a few days before the events, facing our own issues of supplies and, of course, our own issues of security. See, a lot of people were more or less here to celebrate. But some people, of course, were still not that happy, and not just because their guy lost, but because, well, of the obvious. I saw it as a day of advancing progressive politics. You know, the kind of stuff that we're always shoveling down the rest of the world's throat, claiming to be the bastion of liberality. But here we were, 2008, for the first time, celebrating our first black president, Obama, and of course his VP of choice, Joe Biden. Still, we had a job to do, and that was the focus. We dug in, and at one point, I needed to confirm that we were getting our live feed, and that was going to a big monitor, the largest TV you've ever seen, hanging in the lobby, so that the party guests from all angles could see what was going on. As a perfunctory moment, just to check to make sure it was working, I had them tap in to the news. What was on? The inauguration, because of course that was going on while we were working. I stopped and stood with my mouth agape for the first time, realizing, wait, I'm here in D.C. This is just basically outside the door here. I'm part of history. Well, then it was back to work, of course, so that we could open the doors for the party. A few hours later, the doors were opened and the guests pulled up in their cars wearing all their finery, 5 floors of VIP sponsored in part by HBO. Oh, the event went wonderfully. The tap dancer Omar Edwards, who's from Bringin' the Noise, Bringin' the Funk, a good friend. He tapped out Bush and tapped in Obama.
So every time I say Bush, you just scream out gone. I don't care what you're doing, when you're doing it. Bush. Bush.
The award show went off well, too. And how could it not with pros like Wendell Pierce and Hill Harper?
Because, you know, there's blood on the ballot box. So many people died so we could have the right to vote. And we have taken that vote and taken it to the highest level.
And I had to believe that our ancestors, those individuals that built 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, are cheering today as they move in on Tuesday.
And our DJ, Beverly Bond, got everyone in the mood.
what your mama say. I'ma vote Obama.
Now, you may not know this, but anyone with a bit of cultural knowledge will tell you that no party within the community is ever going to come to an end without at least one line dance breaking out. And I ain't talking clogging. This year, the inauguration is going to be a little bit different. Well, for one, I won't be producing any of the events. But regardless, I'll remain equally committed to Team Biden-Harris. And it's because I believe that we're going to see that hope that we had seen in 2008 for, I believe, 8 years. And I hope the inauguration will be the start of putting aside party lines and the divisionist rhetoric that we have seen for way too long at this point, and commence, finally, the national healing that is so desperately needed. I do know one thing, having met and worked with Biden at the Concordia Summit years ago, and that is, I guarantee we will always get his signature Biden from the heart integrity on any and all matters. Because I saw it up close and personal at this event I referred to. I was part of the production team, and Biden that year was going to be a keynote speaker. We were told, button up, make sure you're on your mark. We've got 20 minutes, no more, no less. We were all security cleared and in place, ready to go. Biden himself walked in, no nonsense, very little fanfare, took the stage, and we began. But he did not go right to the remarks that we all knew he had planned. He instead immediately addressed the new school shooting that had just happened that morning. And in fact, it was how much of us on the crew were learning about it.
As many of you have probably heard, there was another shooting today at a community college in rural Oregon. Part of the dysfunction of our political system today is that there is an overwhelming consensus in America on two things that are equally defensible: the Second Amendment and sane gun legislation. The Second Amendment doesn't say you can own a bazooka. It doesn't say you can own an F-15 with Hellfire missiles. There's the ability of the government to limit the type of weapon.
Biden addressed this tragedy with full signature passion. He reprimanded the gun laws that allow these types of situations to occur, grow, and fester in our country.
87% of the American people agreed with the proposal I put together for the president on background checks and gun safety.
And he did so knowing he would probably draw the wrath of one of the wealthiest lobbyists around, the NRA.
Even over 60% of NRA families, National Rifle Association families, support it. I cite that as part of the dysfunction because we're able to have decided minorities prevent consensus from occurring.
His speech was impromptu, no teleprompter, because we, the crew, would have had to have known about it. And he spoke to his allotted 20 minutes, and we were all prepared to fade to logo and fade to black when suddenly he shifted and commenced the remarks that he had prepared.
It's the issue of a generation, and it overrides every other problem we face. We can literally, not figuratively, be overwhelmed in all of our efforts if we don't deal with it. That's climate change. Not only is it an issue of life and death long term, it's a national security issue. Most people talk about climate change in terms of the science of it. Now, a lot of our friends on the other team, they don't think there's global warming. They also deny gravity and a few other things. It's just kind of fascinating.
I knew in that moment, looking through the lens, because the cameras don't lie, is that I saw a man of great integrity and great commitment.
Governments can do a lot, but we cannot do it without your intellectual, political, and moral support.
He spoke from the heart about gun control, and he spoke to the heart about everyone's engagement and commitment. And I think that rings ever the more true as we step forward in really unprecedented times. It will take all of our commitment, and we have all played a role in this, be it on a very noble level, such as our honest, and very dedicated poll workers who served in the midst of great adversity and question this year. Be it simply you for getting out and voting, which seemed like it was going to be anything but simple this year, to staying engaged throughout the next 4 years, regardless of your party line. We all have a task, a collective journey that we need to fulfill and work together to fulfill. And I hope you will continue to join me here as we look at this throughout the 4 years.
And I'm confident that if we focus all the stakeholders on these problems, there's not a problem we cannot solve.
I'm Jeff Oppenheim. Thank you for joining me today. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, even if you disagree with me. I invite the exchange. Until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and stay engaged.